What do sprinters eat before they race?
What?
Nothing. They fast. Pat, I can't even. Pat, did the intro even play? Because my internet's
The intro played for
all
me.
right.
Yeah.
Well, look, listen. If it played for you, that's all we really need. Folks, welcome back to Brand Coverage. I'm Brandon Carney alongside Pat Gustafson. We'll see if my internet decides to keep me through this entire show. Because last week we had a couple minutes of just the Pat show,
where I just was scared and asked if everyone could hear me. But this week I know they can hear me.
I mean,
this week I know they can hear me. I'm riffing, straight riffing.
That is true. Totally fair question last week to wonder if they could hear you because we didn't know if we were just going zero dark 30. If I end up kicked from the stream, but folks. It's that time of the offseason, and believe it or not, actually, starting next week, Pat and I are going to be getting into the divisional fantasy football previews because with us only being a one-show-a-week pod, we basically need that long to go through all the divisions before we get through or get to, real, I think, all the teams reporting for camp and all that. So we will start that next week. For this week, look, another lightish show, but we do have some stuff to go over. And Pat, we will start with the news of the week.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
See, that one played for me. First things first, Brock Purdy gets paid, Pat. The contract extension. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, Brock'em Sock'em Robots, other name
Purdy
puns.
Sheldon. Sorry.
Oh, for fuck's sake. The contract extension that we all assumed was coming at some point has officially come. The 49ers front office was basically saying, part of the reason they had to get rid of some of these free agents this offseason or not bring them back was to accommodate this contract for Brock Purdy. Now, we didn't know exactly what figure that was going to materialize itself as, but we do know now that it is 5 years, $265 million. I think a few things are true about this contract extension. One, it was inevitable. The 49ers had no choice. They were not going to get rid of Brock Purdy after what he has done for them, what they have accomplished with him in his short career in San Francisco. But also, I think there are some fair questions about whether this is the optimal roster construction and sort of salary cap allocation of their funds. Pat, where do you fall on that side of things, and what do you think this means for the 49ers going forward?
I mean, first of all, if you look at it in a vacuum, like Brock Purdy as the player himself, he deserves it. He deserves it. Like, I think he deserves his deal more than the likes of guys like Tua, Trevor Lawrence, dare I say Dak Prescott. Like, I'd say maybe it's close at least. He brought them to the Super Bowl, and you can argue that anyone can bring you to the Super Bowl in the Kyle Shanahan type system. And I think that's kind of the point of contention here, like you said, and I saw you tweeting about it and you made a video about it saying that the 49ers whole thing is their roster construction, their ability to pay premium players at other positions because they're cheap play at quarterback. And like, yes, that's true. Like, that's true. They're not going to be able to do that anymore. But it's like, I feel like it's different than it's like the Moneyball mentality in baseball where it's like, oh, you had a guy that could do this. We can get you this guy who could do it, but way cheaper. I feel like that's way riskier in the NFL, especially with a starting quarterback. Like, sure, you can sit there and say, like, hey, Mac Jones can do what Brock Purdy is doing. You don't know that for sure.
Right.
Brock Purdy, you know it. You know it. And, he is the perfect fit. Just this, not a gunslinger, not anything like that. Just a guy that gets the job done. And he works in this Kyle Shanahan offense. So I'd rather do this. I think this was the only way for them to go in terms of locking him down and then trying to figure everything else out rather than gambling on who knows what comes next. You could find the next Trey Lance and you could be sit there and hitting yourself because you had your guy. I'm not saying he's any kind of superstar, but he is the correct quarterback for that team moving forward.
And now that you bring up Trey Lance, I think it's almost to the 49ers' detriment that they didn't start Trey Lance for a little bit to show people what we assume it would have looked like with Trey Lance, which is it probably wouldn't have gone that well. Because if this guy is not somebody that could even get on the field because he wasn't showing well enough in practice and he got beat out by undrafted Brock Purdy, I think people would have finally realized the fact that the 49ers can't just throw out literally whoever at the quarterback position and make them good. They found some of these guys. I mean, I say some of these guys, really two guys over the last few years. It's been Brock Purdy and Jimmy G. They found guys that can operate their offense the way that they want to. And in Purdy's case, they found somebody who I think is just a little more clutch and a little more put together than Jimmy G, and just overall better than Jimmy G.
A lot better than Jimmy G, quite frankly.
I think there's this sentiment out there, and it's also one that I, sarcastically peddle in my videos. I don't know if everybody realizes it's sarcastic or not, or that I don't actually believe this, but there's this idea out there that they can succeed with literally anybody. They can succeed with a lot of guys, I think, but I don't think they could succeed with anybody. And they found this guy in Brock Purdy who operates their offense perfectly. And it's a case of every signing is not like this one big independent thing. Like, everything is team by team, and you have to look at it that way. And when you find a guy that is perfect for your offense, and more importantly, Pat, like, again, I say how, Purdy was more clutch and overall better than Jimmy G, but especially the clutch part, that is something that is invaluable to a team that is, other than last year, in the playoffs and deep in the playoffs as often as the 49ers are. What's the criticism we hear out of quarterbacks who are considered much better than Brock Purdy, like Lamar Jackson, like Justin Herbert? It's that they, for whatever reason, get to the playoffs and the lights seem too bright for some reason. They are not playing up to their their overall potential and their overall skill level. Again, you give me a choice between Brock Purdy or Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert, I'm still probably taking those other two guys. I'm certainly taking those other two guys. But there is something to be said for a team like the 49ers that, when they don't have a completely disaster season like they did last year with all the injuries and stuff, they are usually pretty deep in the playoffs, and I think there's something to be said for a guy that you are confident will not be the reason you lose those games. And I think that's what Brock Purdy is. Now, is the dollar amount a little bit high? Is the fact that he's up over $50 million a little concerning? Maybe, but this is also only the 14th highest percentage of the cap hit in terms of quarterback contracts. So really not that bad. I think if you were to put together a quarterback ranking, Brock Purdy's probably around 14th, I would say. Somewhere 14 to 16 in terms of just traits and, comparing him to guys like Lamar, Burrow,
I would
everybody else.
Even trend on the better side of that.
A little higher than that. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. So, look, all the jokes I make about it, I do think this was the right signing. It will be interesting to see what their roster construction looks like going forward. But again, this is a team that was not just allocating a bunch of money to these guys because they could, these supporting players, but they're really good at finding them through the draft. And guess what? When you get a guy in the draft in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, they ain't costing you much for the first 3 or 4 years. So if they can just continue to do that part of their strength, I think they will be just fine.
That's the thing, is this is such a drastic difference because we are literally talking the last pick in the draft. He was getting Mr. Irrelevant money to $50 million. So that just makes it look worse from the 49ers perspective in the sense that they really have to change things that drastically. But in the NFL too, they always shimmy their way around contracts, whether turning it into a signing bonus or defer, whatever. They always seem to get around it. And they just signed Fred Warner as well. Yep. To a big extent. Is he the highest paid linebacker in the league right now? He might be.
He might be.
He might be. So the fact that they still do that, they're paying George Kittle big money. It's like you find these bargains now in some of the less premium positions. We may be talking about some cheaper San Francisco 49ers wide receivers in our breakout draft later, for example.
Sure might.
Find some skill position players like that while you pay your quarterback the big money. You pay your captain on the defense big money. And again, this team and organization has proven that they can build this team. So just because they've lost their real ace in the hole in their cheap guy in terms of Purdy, there's no reason to believe they still can't do it around him. It's going to be more difficult, but I believe they can do it.
Yeah, and I think too, just to be clear to people who remember our takes on, just to compare the Tua signing back when it happened, I think we were pretty much in agreement with that signing, saying that was pretty bad, because the Dolphins have not shown the ability to put enough around the rest of their roster in the past, but also Tua very much did not have this level of proven production success in the playoffs that Brock Purdy has already had. Brock Purdy in his 2 other seasons prior to last season, which again was just kind of a wash, complete disaster for the Niners. The first season he ended up starting by the end of the year, They made it to the NFC Championship game where they then lost because he destroyed his elbow. And then the following season, he made it to the Super Bowl. So this is a guy that like has that level of success. That's why I think we are more critical of a different sort of quarterback who has similar limitations physically that Purdy does, which is a guy like Tua, but does not have some of those other positives that I think could make the signing a little bit more understandable, a little more palatable even at this price point.
I think I'd rather have Purdy right now. I mean, granted, Tua also probably has onset CTE. Like, looking aside from that, like just from quarterback, I think I'd rather have Purdy. But they are in a similar vein where it's like they're in a very good offense. But like you said, results are results. Tua may look great for Tyreek Hill and company in fantasy. But like I said, Brock Purdy's making it to the NFC Championship game routinely in what now it'll be his 4th year as a starter. So yeah, I definitely warranted here.
Yeah, so congratulations to Brock Purdy, and congratulations to the Niner fans as well. They've got a guy that I think they are going to be pretty comfortable with here over the next several years. Now, for the rest of the show, here is what we have lined up, Pat. We are about to go over some more NFL league meeting issues that they will be voting on or have already essentially voted on. And then we are going to, in relation to that, draft our flag football teams, Pat, our ideal Olympic flag football teams with the acknowledgement that these Olympic flag football teams are probably going to include not just NFL players, but that's no fun. So we're going to pretend it's just NFL players, and Pat and I are going to see who can build the best one. After that, we'll talk about a little bit from the NFL schedule release, and after that, as Pat alluded to, and as is in our title, I believe, the Breakout Fantasy Football Players Draft. We are going to put together little squads of 5 of players that as of right now, as of May 20th, 2025, we think have a good chance to break out this year in fantasy football. Now, Pat, I don't know how you define that yourself. I personally defined it as no rookies, obviously, because that they're just too new. And I didn't necessarily distinguish between guys that have, well, I guess it's mostly guys that have never really broken out before, but have maybe shown a little glimpse here and there. I have one guy who has had good seasons in the past, but I think is kind of going to re-break out. He's going to break back in and breaking back out.
Breakout is a subjective term in nature where it's like, sure, some guys can be on the radar and be guys you might have started before, but I think I'm kind of looking at it from the senses. This guy is going to turn into someone that you are going to be considering starting on a weekly basis.
Yes, I would agree with that. But before we get into that, again, we've got some NFL league meeting issues to talk about and our flag football draft. But yeah, we'll start there. The league is expected to allow players to compete in flag football for the 2028 Olympics. Now, the specifics behind this are getting ironed out, Pat. I read through them a little bit, and it's they're basically ironing out things like injury insurance, cap, like forgiveness if a player were to get injured in these situations leading up to, or excuse me, in like flag football practices and such. So it sounds like it's happening. I will be honestly curious to see how many NFL guys end up doing this and what caliber of them end up doing this. Because in our draft, it's going to be ideal. We're going to be drafting the stars of the league that would be great at this. But will this be a case where it's like what the NBA shells out for Team USA every other year, where like sometimes it's a really good crop and then sometimes we literally just send the B squad or even the C squad?
Well, that's the thing. I guess at basketball, they're playing the same game. I mean, granted, it's, FIBA rules and whatever. It's a bit of a different game, but at its core, you are still playing basketball. In flag football, there's a lot of inherently different things. Because I had no fucking idea right before we got on. I was reading up the rules.
Yeah,
obviously no linemen. It's 5-on-5. You can run the ball outside of 5 yards from the either end zone. There could be 2 blitzers, but they have to be 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Yep. Only 2 first down opportunities, the midfield and a touchdown. So, like, it is inherently a different thing. And I would not be surprised if a lot of teams just say, and put the kibosh on it and just straight up say, like, no, you're not doing it. This is too big of a liability for you to go down with a major injury. And granted, it's in the offseason, but I really will not be surprised if and when that's the case with at least a handful of teams here. And I guess from a caliber perspective, Justin Jefferson said it would be a dream to play on the flag football team. That's all well and good. I think we'll see NFL players. I think we'll be disappointed, though.
I see. Yeah, that's my inclination as well. But then I think about it and I'm like, the Olympics is a big deal. And this is these players' real only opportunity to call themselves Olympic athletes. And I wonder which ones of them will take that opportunity if presented to them, but also how many of them is it going to be presented to? Because again, we had that guy, Pat, if you remember, like months ago or a year ago, the guy that was like, I'm a better flag football quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, and it was the guy with the goofy ass like throwing motion. But people, after looking into it, it was like, well, yeah, he might be. Like, it's such a different sport. It's played so differently that guy who has years of experience playing it might be better in a flag football setting than a guy like Patrick Mahomes, but we don't know the extent of that yet, or which guys, how many of them are, specialized out there in flag football, and it will just the sheer athleticism of the guys in the NFL overtake that and allow them to, kind of make up this squad. We'll see. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I will be excited to see it when it all materializes here. Now, let's get through these other two issues before we get to the flag football draft, Pat, because it's everybody's favorite topic, and it's back. The Tush Push.
Fuck off.
May be banned again because a revised proposal by the Packers is going to get voted on, and it seems like there is some buzz, some smoke that this will be the time that it actually gets banned. We don't have to spend too much time on it, Pat, because we talked about it on this pod several times. But just to reiterate our stances on it, I'll reiterate mine first. I think this is soft. I don't think we'll ultimately care that much, a year or two from now about it, because it is just banning this kind of ugly looking play. I get it. It's not the sexiest thing in the NFL, and that's the crux of why they're getting rid of it. Fuck your player safety arguments. That is not why you're getting rid of it. You're getting rid of it because it's too effective, and it's not what you want people, tuning into the NFL for the first time to be seeing, because it's just not what you want to represent your game. And I would rather them just be honest about that aspect of it. But I do think it's soft because there's nothing inherently unfair about it. There are teams that have stopped it in the past, and I think you are just punishing a team for getting really good at something that, again, and this is the real sticking point, no one else can replicate. If it was that unfair, everyone would do it, but they don't. The Eagles don't have any magic players that allow them to do this when no one else can.
Jason Kelce's ass.
They've just perfected, and then they were just as good at it last year without Jason Kelce. So it's just silly to me. That's just what I wanted to say as this topic rears its ugly head again.
Yeah, it's almost like Hack a Shaq in the NBA, where it's like, yes, it is effective. It is an effective thing, but it's just like you just don't want to watch it. It's not a quality product. Even like in MLB, with the pitching changes, the constant platoon swap pitching changes, It's like, yes, from a strategy standpoint, it's a great idea. From game flow perspective, terrible. So like I understand that, but at the end of the day, if the Eagles were not as good as they were, no one would give a flying fuck. No. Like if this was a play that the Eagles were not very good at and tried it every so often with varying success, no one would care. And that's why I think it's stupid. I mean, if you give me the hardcore evidence that this is a player safety issue, then I might get on your side, but it's not. It's not.
No. It is absolutely not. And the other issue being voted on, Pat, this one was proposed by the Lions, and we've heard some talk about this over the last couple weeks. I don't think we've really touched on this subject much, but it is the playoff reseeding debate. What this would be is you would still have your 4 division winners and 3 wild cards making the playoffs, but whether you win your division or not will not impact your seeding. It would be straight up. Once those 7 teams are picked via the 4 division winners and the 3 wildcards, they will then be seeded by record 1 through 7. So this would prevent, say, the NFC North, which is where the Lions are proposing this from, even though I believe they won the division. But I think they might just be a little worried about the competition going forward. No. If you are the Vikings and you finish second in your division and are 14-3, you will be able to be the 2nd or 3rd seed in the NFC rather than having to go all the way down past, the 4 division winners and be either the 5 or the 6 or the 7. How do you feel about this, Pat? Do you think this undermines the importance of divisions a little bit, or are you in favor of it?
It exactly does. I'm not a personal fan of it. If you're going to go all in and just abolish divisions and say it's a conference, like I know there's still divisions in the NBA, but there really aren't.
No, definitely not.
But like, so if you're going to kind of just do away with it like the NBA did, sure. But the thing is, the importance of division is scheduling too. Those are 2 games every year out of the thing. If you really want to get rid of all that, but say we're not going to do that. Say there's still going to be divisions. There's still going to be a division winner who gets in no matter what. Then there should at least be some kind of incentive for that, I think. And honestly, I'm more of a fan of reseeding in the next round. Like, say if like the 2, 3, 6, 4 then you reseed them. Then you reseed them there, like have the highest team play the lowest remaining seed if you want to do that. Isn't that what they do anyway? It is what they do anyway, you stupid fat piece of shit. What the holy fuck am I talking about, chat? What the fuck am I talking about? Moral of the story, no, I'm not a fan.
That's fair. I've been torn on it. I think I'm in favor of what they're doing, but I understand that it does undermine the divisions because I look at it this way, like, yes, I want the divisions to mean something, and yes, I want a divisional matchup between the fucking Texans and the Colts in Week 17 to matter, even if they are both, barely 500. But at the same time, I don't think a team should be rewarded for going 9-8 and winning your division when you just got lucky that you're in a shit division. Like, I don't know that's fair either. I think the reseeding is more in line with making it as fair as possible and making sure you have the best chance for the best teams to advance. But it will be kind of a sad day to see the importance of divisions, I think, diminish a little bit. But again, I see both sides. Gun to my head, I think I am in favor of the reseeding, just because, again, like, we don't need to see the Texans or the Jags have a home game just because they went 9-8, or God forbid 8-9, which we have seen in the past. Teams literally be under 500 and get a home playoff game or be at 500. I think that in itself is kind of silly. So I'm in favor of it, even though there are some downsides. All right. Circling back to the flag football, Pat, because this is, I think, going to be kind of fun before we get into our breakout draft after this. This is a double draft pod, everybody. Thank your lucky stars. This is a momentous day here on Brand Coverage. It's very exciting.
I thought we were going to go through rounds 11 through 20 of the Gorilla Draft. So I've been working all week on this. I'm disappointed.
No more Gorilla Draft. And if we did, I'm drafting Boban Marjanovic, who I can't believe I forgot about, even though he's retired. I think he's retired, or he's just not on the team because he's not that good at basketball.
I think he officially retired. But
possibly great at fighting a gorilla, though.
We stand Boban in this house.
We do stand Boban. But the flag football draft, Pat and I are going to go back and forth and see who can create the best NFL flag football team. Now, for those unfamiliar, the flag football structure is 5 players on offense, 5 players on defense. Positions are it's kind of positionless in a way, but there are some positions that are less important. I say positionless just because it's like you got 5 guys, specifically defensively. You've got 5 guys. They're basically all going to be DBs except for one.
Yeah.
And
that guy's probably going to be even a linebacker. Probably a guy you could drop back.
Even that one still could be a DB. So it's a little bit positionless. And then offensively, you want, obviously, a quarterback that can throw the ball, but then the rest of those other guys, receivers, running backs, whatever, it doesn't matter who they are. You just got to be elusive. So we are going to go back and forth drafting these guys. And again, for the names of the positions, you do have the quarterback, and you've got, it's like back/receiver. That's the other 4 guys on offense. Then on defense, it's basically 4 DBs and then what's called a rusher. So the rusher is the guy that has to be 7 yards off the line and then can rush. But that can be, again, whoever you want. So, Pat, I believe you have the first pick because I took Draymond Green in the fighting the gorilla draft.
You absolute buffoon.
This will be fun because I'm curious what positions we each prioritize here, because I think there are some real advantages here in terms of me versus you here.
So we're just picking. Are we picking the entire team, defense included?
10 players each.
Oh, okay. We're doing all 10. Ooh, then that changes things because I feel like with the receivers, a lot of it is just going to be speed and separation. You may find some of those guys in hint kick returners that might pop up here. Like, that's the thing is you don't need to be this elite, because so much of being a wide receiver is, one-on-one, being physical, all these things. This is really speed and separation.
I think you're looking, speed and route running is really what I prioritize with my draft board here.
Yes. Oh boy. I'm not prepared for the DB part of it. I was thinking just offense. Oh boy. Here we go. I think I've got to go with it. This is the only other man you could think that would be an Olympian. He talks about it at every fucking chance he gets. Give me I don't care. He's old. He's washed. Give me the cheetah. Give me Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Yeah. I mean, firmly on my board. I think really the first player people thought of when the flag football thing was approached, like a year or two ago was Tyreek Hill. It's like, oh, Tyreek Hill is going to be facing these Cambodian farmers, and they're just not going to have any idea what to do. I think that is totally fair, and also for the sake of this draft, I don't think we need to do snake. I think we can just go alternating back and forth.
That's fine.
One at a time. So Tyreek Hill, yeah, totally fair pick for a flag football draft. That guy, as long as he's fully healthy, can absolutely dust people, and he is a shifty little mofo. He's also, we'll have to see if he ends up being allowed in whatever country's flag football.
Oh, for here we go.
Because his criminal record is not exactly spotless. But
I mean,
if
the Olympics are quite literally in Los Angeles in 2028. I think he can be there.
I wouldn't let him in LA if it was me. All right, with my first pick, I am going to go with a real positional, I think, advantage here, or somebody that I think everybody making these flag football hypothetical teams has on their roster, and it is Lamar Jackson at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I think you look at Lamar Jackson, and he is literally the most elusive quarterback of all time. Now, fun fact about the flag football rules, you cannot just take off as a quarterback from behind the line of scrimmage. You cannot just run the ball. You have to make a pass and then get the ball back from that player if you want to run the ball as a quarterback. But I just think his ability to navigate even just behind the line of scrimmage, and then if you want to mix in those, double pass or double lateral type of plays, he becomes even more of a problem. But I think Lamar Jackson just built in a lab for a flag football setting. I mean, he's built in a lab for an NFL setting too, but for flag football, God forbid, he will be an absolute demon.
Yeah, I think he would have been my first, my first shot at quarterback as well. I'm going to have to think now. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball where I was thinking, granted, I did do some research, but the first name that popped into my head when I just thought, like, speed, who can keep up with some of these guys? It's Reek Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks.
I like that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good DBs that we can go with here. And a shout out to Reek Woolen, formerly Tariq Woolen. I think he followed me on Instagram at one point, or liked one of my videos, because I remember seeing that his name was different. And I was like, who's that? And then it was Reek Woolen. Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I am going to go a different portion of the defense, a different spot. And it's another guy who I think is a huge sort of, he stands out as a guy that would really succeed in this role in flag football. Hybrid sort of player. Only need to fill one of these spots on defense, and it is the rusher spot, and it's Micah Parsons. I think when you are looking at somebody to rush the quarterback in flag football, you want kind of a lighter guy. This is unfortunately a setting where guys like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt might not be best suited because strength doesn't matter. There's no contact. So when you look at a guy with really good ball skills as well, but is also one of the best sack artists in the game because of his speed, his elusiveness, he's also got really good strength too. It just won't come into play here. I think Micah Parsons is that sort of perfect hybrid player, so I'm putting him at my rusher spot.
Speaking of hybrid players, first of all, there's two bench spots, so there could be. I'm taking Travis Hunter, just from the perspective that he could quite literally play on either side of the ball. For the sake of this draft, I will put him at wide receiver, which seems to be the position he's going to be playing primarily in the NFL. But, just to have that ability. You do have subs in case somebody's gassed. You can have it's a 12-man roster, but still, just to have that positional versatility literally extends both sides of the ball. I got to pick him.
I think that's fair. Man, you're leaving me a lot of really high-profile players here that I can just fucking rip. I'm going to take, I think, everybody's favorite running back for this setting as well, which is Saquon Barkley. You didn't take that guy. The hurdle play alone, I think, kind of reminds people, what, is that illegal in flag football?
You cannot jump or dive.
Really? You can't jump or dive?
The runner cannot jump or leap.
Interesting. I mean, I guess there's no reason to there's no opportunity that would present itself where you would hurdle anyway, because the reason you hurdle in the NFL is because somebody's going low to try to tackle you. You don't have to fully go low to grab a flag. I still
think Saquon is an incredibly valid pick here.
I mean, a backfield of Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley, RIP to the Scandinavians that are going to try to cover that. So yeah, I'll go with Saquon Barkley.
I'll take my running back then, because I guess in theory you could take another one. While you obviously can run the ball, you want a guy who's going to be quick and good as a pass catcher. The first guy that came to my head earlier was Jahmyr Gibbs when I was thinking about that. So I will add him to the squad, Jahmyr.
I like that. I almost thought you were going another way, and that's probably
Achane?
because I was going to say It's probably just because of my heavy bias for him, but he's also really good.
Those were the
really
two
stuck
running
out.
backs on the top of my list, yeah.
I mean, he effectively played slot receiver for the Dolphins half the season last year, so that would definitely make sense as a pick. We'll see if I end up taking him a bit later, but for now, I'm going to go to the wide receiver spot because it seems unholy that Justin Jefferson is still available and has not been taken by anybody. Just that perfect combination of speed, elusiveness, route running. I think he is as good of a candidate as any for wide receiver 1 for a flag football draft, so I will take Justin Jefferson.
Now, this guy is not necessarily the speediest. He's just a really fucking good cornerback, literally defensive player of the year. I'll take Pat Surtain here. Whether he's necessarily the best choice for flag football, the guy's just locked down. I don't see why that would be entire. You could still get handsy, at least a word. You could still get handsy out there. So you could still use some of those skills. I gotta take him.
No, I think that's an easy one for sure. I don't see any reason his skill set would not translate to
Patrick.
a flag setting. That is true. Is there any player named Brandon I could take? Brandon
Ayuk.
Bostic? Ew, Ayuk. I'd rather take Bostic.
Packers legend Brandon Bostic.
Brandon Manu Maliuna.
Yes.
We're not turning this into a fucking random ass players draft. Next pick.
Oh yes, we are.
Let me. I feel like I'm gonna end up with just the sexiest possible team, and it's really funny. I'll take Jamar Chase to go with Justin Jefferson. I'll focus on defense when I focus on defense, but for now, we're just gonna create the most diabolical group of offensive demons you've ever seen in your life. I think. I have one more spot on offense for another receiver, I think, or running back.
I have Tyreek Hill, who's a literal demon.
Yeah, he is. Again, I think he's going to get arrested at the California border, but...
So I've got 2 wide receivers and a running back, so I really have one other spot for a starting offensive player. I'm surprised this guy's gotten here just from the sheer speed alone. He's known as one of the better speed wide receivers. It's Xavier Worthy.
That's
new chief love
like
right
that.
there. Again, one of the first names that... See, you're going with just the best outright players, at least on offense. I thought of guys where it's just like, who are just really fucking fast and are just going to get by.
I thought of that too. I thought about you know who kept coming to mind, Pat, and I wasn't gonna pick him, but I kept thinking big plays. Nick
Rashid
Westbrook-Ikhine.
Oh.
I was like, he'd be a fun addition to one.
The funniest one I was thinking of early was Kavontae Turpin.
I figured that was who you were alluding to with the special.
Well, when I mentioned the kick returners earlier, yes, that was who I mentioned. Yeah, I decided to go against that.
All right. Fuck defense. I'm just gonna finish out my offense here. I think. You sparked another name in me when you mentioned the speed, and I think it might be kind of fun to have this guy on the roster, and I think he'd be a good vibes guy as well. I'm gonna hope that he has recovered well from whatever injury he has that I don't even remember. I'm going to take Rashid Shaheed and put him on this offense. I think that is just a fire flag football pick. Give me Rashid Shaheed.
And how about this?
I don't remember.
Could he possibly break a brand coverage record by being drafted twice in the same episode?
Wow. Imagine that.
We shall see.
Imagine that.
Spoilers!
Meniscus surgery.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Okay. So, I mean, that's not...
He'll be fine by 2028.
He'll be get fucking put some dirt on it, Rashid. Get out there. All right, you're up.
All right, so I've got my rusher and then two other defenders. I'm obviously gonna wait for quarterback because why should I not? All right. Oh boy, yikes. I could do. Wait. No, I'm thinking here. Stalling. I think we really need to appeal to the masses. What was the zoom in for? I just we need some diversity on this team. Cooper DeJean, come on down.
Yeah. That's smart. I was possibly going to go diversity on offense. I was thinking about Lad McConkey, but I ended up not going that way.
He'll be playing for Ireland.
Shit. Yes, okay, I like it. Cooper DeJean, fun fact, PFF's #1 rated corner last year. So, says more about PFF than it does Cooper DeJean. But
And now here's a guy who...
yeah, here's a guy plays the game the right way. Okay. I now have to address the defensive side of the football, and I feel like this is kind of a do-it-all sort of guy. I am going to, for one of my safety spots, because technically you could put safety, corner, whatever, Kyle Hamilton in my secondary.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton, you got arguably the best safety in the league. So Pat's got a bit of a monopoly on the corner market, mainly just because he took Pat Surtain. And so I will counter that with Kyle Hamilton at the safety spot.
All right, I'm going to go with my rusher here, and this is tough because, like, I feel like some of these guys are just good at everything. Are you hearing a buzz?
Yeah,
hear a
somebody's
buzz.
making cake downstairs.
I wonder who that could be. Okay, I didn't know if it was me, because someone's mowing the lawn out here.
I hear that. We're the White Noise podcast today. It's great.
I don't know why my dad decided to mow the lawn at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know why the hell he's out there.
Very dad activity. I like it.
I know this guy may not be known for just, like, blazing speed, but he's known for having one of the quickest first steps. It's still gonna, whether you got flags on or not, you're gonna be shitting yourself watching Myles Garrett running right at you.
Yeah, I mean, he will at least block your line of vision when you're trying to throw the ball because he's just fucking gigantic. So I think that's fair. I was really looking at the smaller kind of guys. I think my backup, if I didn't go with Michael Parsons, I was actually going to go with Will Anderson just to get one of those elusive guys. But look, that's not to say my game plan is any better than yours. So I was going
to take the biased pick of Max Crosby there, but I decided against it.
You can't have too much diversity. You don't want to do that.
Shit.
Another DB that I need. I'm gonna go just super biased here, but I don't care because I think this guy's gonna break out this year. But we're not gonna.
Devin McCourty.
But we're not gonna draft him because defensive side of the ball. It's Christian Gonzalez. I think he's I think he's one of the best corners in football, and he just hasn't been able to put together a healthy enough season and be on a good enough team yet to show it. But I think he's got the juice. I'm going CG. Yeah, nobody calls him that, but CG.
All right, I will. 2 picks left here. I'll address my quarterback first. I think kind of the next best bet in terms of guy who's quick, can evade a rusher, and can absolutely
Kenny Pickett.
Huck the ball is Joe. It's Jaden Daniels. It's Jaden Daniels here.
The only other quarterback I even had on my board. So yeah, I think those two.
I thought about Josh Allen, but like he doesn't really need the size. The size advantage really doesn't do a whole lot for him. Like obviously Lamar's a big guy too, but he can doesn't matter.
They're slender. Lamar and Jaden Daniels are built fairly similarly. They're both slender guys.
I don't know why. I just think of Lamar as just like some big scary guy, but is he taller?
Who's taller, Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels?
Drew Brees.
Never know. No. Kyler Murray.
Jaden Daniels is taller. I don't know what I'm just dreaming of right now.
Oh, Pat hasn't watched enough Jaden Daniels. Non-ball knower. Does not know his height off memory.
I know his jockstrap size. Big.
I've smelled it. Let's see. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. All right, we got 2 picks left. I need 2 more DBs. Give me... I am going to corner the safety market fully and take Antoine Winfield Jr. as my other safety DB, and then we'll see who the fuck I take for my last actual corner.
See, the thing is that somebody mentioned that Sauce Gardner has not been taken yet. And, like, in theory, I want to do that. But I need a hero here on defense. I need someone who is willing to die for his country. Damar Hamlin, come on down! He's carrying the torch at the opening ceremonies.
I think we're using the phrase willing to die a bit loosely.
Well, whether he was willing to or not, he almost did. Whether it's his choice or not, he did.
I think, given the choice, that he would opt into that situation again. He didn't opt into it the first time, but Pat, I'll
I thought. Remember when I like paused and said like, "Oh wait," a few picks ago? That was when it came to me.
Yeah.
Or is he fucking? Oh, that's a motorcycle driving by now. That's not the lawnmower.
Driving the lawnmower into your room right now. All with my last pick, give me.
Not gonna be better than mine.
I know it's not. Give me Trent McDuffie. I'll just take a good number. I'll give me Trent McDuffie, and we'll call it a fucking day here because I think.
What if I just start picking DeMar Hamlin during every eligible draft? Like obviously he can't go in the breakout player draft,
right?
But
no, he's gonna be two-way Travis Hunter vibes.
Well, I mean, you saw him on that 4th down conversion. You saw how good he looked on that.
Oh my fucking god. Yeah, you're canceled. All right, you made all your picks, right? Because you went
we're done.
10 and 10. All right, yeah, we're done.
That was fun.
Pat's flag football team. I'll try to go offense, defense here. Pat's team offense: Jaden Daniels, Tyreek Hill, Jahmyr Gibbs, Xavier Worthy, and Travis Hunter on offense, with the ability for him to play defense. That's some versatility. And then defense, he's got Reek Woolen, Pat Surtain, Cooper DeJean, Myles Garrett, and fucking DeMar Hamlin. For me, offensively, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Rashid Shaheed, the wild card. And defensively, Micah Parsons, Kyle Hamilton, Christian Gonzalez, Antoine Winfield, and Trent McDuffie. Comment down below who has the better team.
Yeah. But
you
who
might
has
have
someone
won.
willing to die for their country?
You might have won because of the DeMar Hamlin pick for memeability, but
and Tyreek is willing to kill for his country.
I think I have like 8 first-team All-Pros on my fucking roster, so whatever.
It's not real football. It's flag football.
You're right. It is flag football. That is true. All right, before we get to our breakout draft, which is going to be a good time, the NFL schedule release, Pat, just to touch on some things from it. I think we covered most of it last week, but
most of the notables.
Because we had all the week 1 stuff, we had all the international games. What we know now that we didn't know last week, I believe, is what do we know that's new? Thanksgiving, Packers, Lions, Chiefs, Cowboys, Bengals, Ravens. So we know that Cowboys versus the Chiefs. With the Cowboys having Thanksgiving kind of be their spotlight time, I think it's kind of funny that they gave them the Chiefs because hopefully they just beat the fuck out of them because fuck the Cowboys. Fuck the Chiefs too, but for different reasons. It definitely fucked the Cowboys more so. Packers, Lions, great divisional game on Thanksgiving.
It's better than the Bears last year.
Yeah. And then, hopefully no one gets fired on Thanksgiving this year. If anybody, who would get fired on Thanksgiving? If anybody,
well,
looking
the thing
at,
is,
looking
it's
at these
not
3 games.
It's not Schottenheimer because Jerry is too much pride to do that.
Yeah. Is it Zach Taylor if the Bengals go like 0-8?
I guess so. I guess so.
If the Bengals
it's not
going
to be Harbaugh. It's not going to be Dan Campbell. He'll go and shove an entire turkey in his mouth.
Since we didn't outright say it, the other game is Bengals-Ravens, which is just doesn't feel like a Thanksgiving game, but is going to be dope. Like Bengals-Ravens
awesome.
is always
That's the night game too.
Dope.
When the game that you're deceased on the couch for after eating 3 meals.
You just
that's
have
the
turkey
perfect game of the night.
pouring out of your fucking ears. That's going to be a great one. Black Friday game. We've got the Bears versus the Eagles on Amazon Prime. Should be fun as long as the Bears are finally not just off-season champs and can actually put it together in the regular season. I do have some faith. I think Ben Johnson's going to be good for them. I think they're going to be good.
I do too.
Christmas, we've got the Cowboys versus the Commanders on Netflix. Fucking Cowboys, man. The Cowboys get so many headline games, it makes me sick. They get the first game of the year.
Still.
First game of the year. The Thanksgiving game's obviously a given, and then they get the Christmas game. Fuck off with this fucking team.
Once
the
Yankees get eliminated from the postseason, those fans have got to turn to something. So the Cowboys are the next best thing.
That's true. Cowboys Commanders on Netflix. Lions versus Vikings on Netflix. That one will be fun. And then we've also got Broncos versus Chiefs. So bunch of divisional games all on Christmas Day. I am enjoying the Christmas slate because I think that is just a gaggle of fun games. And then, I think that covers it. Those are the holiday games. Not going to go through the games that are happening just every single week. Feel free to check the schedules for the comprehensive preview of every game of the NFL season.
We will be picking every game.
Every single one. Injuries be damned. We don't care. We're actually going to predict who's going to be hurt every week so that we can then adjust.
Speaking won't be hurt? DeMar Hamlin.
Shut the fuck up. Speaking of season-long schedule-related things, before we get into this breakout draft, I tweeted this, Pat, but I was absolutely dumbfounded. The Patriots are favored in 11 games this year.
That's crazy.
Against the spread. I was like, in Vegas really likes the Patriots as it is because I think their over-under win total was 8.5, which sounds like it should be 11, but I know it's contingency. But still, 8.5, I was already like, man, they really think we're gonna fucking bounce back from that disastrous 4-win season of last year. I didn't know it was supposed to be like that.
The fact that there are lines for every game is crazy. Like, call the goddamn hotline right now if you're betting on those games.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But still, Patriots were favored in 0 games before last season. 11 games now, which is fucking wild. All right, the breakout fantasy football players draft, Pat. Let's get into it. Again, these are players that we believe are going to have breakout seasons, become, I would say, reliable starters for you. At the very least, guys you got in your lineup most of the time. Guys who we think can have very, very good seasons, who have either never really done that before or it's been a while since they've done it. It's essentially a sleepers draft, I would say, just not including rookies. So these are the guys that we think you can get the best value out of in fantasy football this year. And again, we know it's May, but start thinking about this stuff now. You will have an edge, I promise you. So
yeah, we'll be edging all offseason.
All I do is edge to football players. Pat?
Patrick Mahomes!
I guess I have the first pick in the breakout players draft.
DeMar Hamlin's right there, pal.
Calculated. That's why I did the flag football draft, so I could have the break. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think we're fighting over the same. I mean, some of the same players, but I don't think there's like a clear 1-on-1. But I'm actually going to take a guy who I don't know that I look at my list of breakout players and think that he's going to be the best out of them, but I think he's just the one I feel the strongest about, and it's not going to be a surprise to anybody. I've mentioned him on the show a few times. It's Ricky Pearsall.
Yep.
For the San Francisco. Stop pointing a gun at the camera just because he got shot. Ricky.
Well, I knew that's where you were going. Yep.
Yeah, whatever. I like players that get shot. I like Tank Dell last year. I don't fucking know. Ricky Pearsall, I feel like the situation is just too perfect for him, and there is a bit of a red herring in there that is going to keep his value down, and to me that red herring is Juwan Jennings. I like Juwan Jennings. I think he's a good player. Juwan Jennings also had most of his fantasy points last year come from one psychotic 3-touchdown game. Were you a victim of that game? Mm-hmm. You were a victim of that game, weren't you?
It's the playoffs by a game, remember?
Yeah, and look, Juwan's great. He had a great Super Bowl a couple of years ago where I think he would have won Super Bowl MVP had the Niners pulled that game out. He's a really good player, but I think there's a reason that he's never been like super fully relied upon, fully featured, and they fully expected to take that next step. I just think they are more comfortable with him as mostly a depth piece who can step up when injuries happen. You have a guy like Ricky Pearsall, first-round draft capital. They got rid of Deebo Samuel. He is now in Washington. It just feels like Ricky is primed to be their wide receiver one. He may not be their leading target getter because George Kittle is around, and as long as he's healthy, he is going to be the guy that they mostly funnel that pass game through. But Brandon Ayuk, coming off a serious injury, Juwan Jennings has just never consistently been that guy. I like Ricky Pearsall to continue his ascent and become a much more reliable player in both the 49ers world, the NFL world, and the fantasy football world. So give me Ricky P at the 101.
Yeah, I think Juwan Jennings is still definitely going to be a regular in the 49ers lineup.
Oh, 100%.
I think Pearsall has all the ability to overtake him, while Jennings could still kind of be more of the flex consideration kind of guy. A guy that's owned, but may not necessarily be a guy. But I think Pearsall's got the upside there. This might kind of be a lame pick just in the sense that, like, no rookies allowed, and had we done this last year, it's Caleb Williams. It's Caleb Williams. You know, we've talked about it time and time again how for once in their fucking miserable well, I guess miserable since the 80s franchise, that the Bears have done everything they can to set up their number one overall pick quarterback. You dump Matt Eberflus and replace him with Ben Johnson, who's being touted as this offensive genius. And I mean, you can't hide it behind Dan Campbell, because it's not like, you know, these guys behind Sean McVay, for example, you could just say, yeah, it was Sean McVay, not them. But Dan Campbell was not the guy. You go and get Ben Johnson. In the last 2 years, you draft Roma Dunze, you draft Colston Loveland, you draft Luther Burden, you bring in DJ Moore. We talked about the running game. You sign linemen, you trade for linemen. This is just all the recipe for Caleb Williams to be the guy that they thought he could be coming out of USC as the number 1 overall pick. And I just think the stars are aligning here. Do I think he's going to like ascend to where Jaden Daniels is? No. But I think he will be a guy that you will be starting every single week. And in terms of draft capital right now, if you're doing underdog drafts in May, first of all, call the hotline. Second of all, the value's good.
I don't think that's a lame pick at all. I'll say this. I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb Williams ended up as a top 5 quarterback for next fantasy football season at all. So I don't think him reaching Jaden Daniels heights is out of the question whatsoever. As you know, a former number 1 overall pick with all that talent and now seemingly in the perfect situation. He was very much on my board. Thought about picking him. So instead, I am going to pick the guy who I recently tweeted is a guy that I am trying to pair with Caleb Williams in fantasy drafts. Not yet. I'm not actually doing fantasy drafts. But if things stick the way they are now, this would be my ideal plan at the quarterback position. It would be to draft both Caleb Williams and my boy Drizzy Drake May at the quarterback spot because whatever. I think the chance that at least one, if not both of them, turns into a elite, I would say even potentially top 5 fantasy quarterback is really high given the draft capital, the talent they both have, the rushing ability that they both have. Now, that's a big thing with Caleb Williams, especially, Pat. Is Caleb Williams, surprisingly, I guess maybe not surprisingly because the Bears' offense was so bad, but surprisingly, given his talent, did not have a single rushing touchdown last year. If he experiences any level of positive regression in that category, we're already cooking. And that's before you get into, the better passing games that we assume he will have and be away from that sort of 160-yard performance that we got a little too used to from him last season. Drake May, similar situation. Now, he was rushing last year, which is why for a couple week stretch, he was actually a serviceable fantasy quarterback, despite the absolute turmoil that was the Patriots offense. So when you consider that Drake May was putting himself on the map last year with just desolation around him, and now that the Patriots have put all these different things in place to help him. Now, look, the offensive line still isn't great, but it does have some improvements. They drafted what we hope will be our left tackle of the future with Will Campbell. Right tackle is Morgan Moses. I mean, old, but fucking better than whatever the fuck we had out there last year. And then offensive weapons, Stephon Diggs is going to be around. We'll see how much he has left, but I can tell you he's already the best receiver that we've had over the last 2 years. Demario Douglas is a elusive guy. I'm excited for Kyle Williams. All these things, but mostly just Drake May's talent and him being in a stable situation with good coaching, I think is going to help him ascend and be a breakout player in fantasy. Truthfully, Pat, if I had my choice, I wouldn't have Drake May in fantasy because I know I'm a problem when it comes to being biased. And the Patriots, honestly, over the years, even in the peak like Brady years, never really had that many fantasy relevant guys. It was like Gronk obviously was a fucking freak, but running back wise, it changed every fucking year. Wide receiver wise, Julian Edelman was good if you played PPR, but outside of that, like the last 10 years of the Brady era, there weren't a lot of guys that I could get myself in trouble with because of my bias. I get myself in trouble with my bias in other fantasy sports all the time. So I'm kind of nervous about the concept of me ending up with Drake May. But if it happens, it happens, and hey, we'll figure it out from there. But yes, Drake May breakout in 2025. Draft him.
Okay. See, this has been difficult for me here because it's like it's defining what is a breakout player. Oh boy.
Draft Saquon.
Good idea. Again, I don't think that this will be necessarily like the best pick on the board here, but I'm looking at from a tight end perspective. There's really only one guy that's not a rookie that I think can genuinely break out into being in the conversation for a weekly start. It's actually Brenton Strange in Jacksonville. You go back to last year. Granted, Evan Engram was out the games that he did well, but it seemed like, God, let me pull up the actual stats. Instead of just talking out of my gut. Instead of just talking out of my... You need to leave! Okay. Let's see. Yeah, games without Evan Engram here. I mean, the guy... Oh, yeah, I mean, he only had 2 touchdowns, but he's out here catching 5 passes. 12 passes, good lord. 4 passes, 3 passes, 5 passes, 6 passes. Not bad, not bad. And Evan Engram's gone. And you could also say that oh, there's a new offensive system in there. You talk about your boy Liam Cohen and Duval. Look how involved Cade Otton was. Go ahead, hit the button. Oh, I thought you were gonna hit the button. That's what I thought you were looking over.
Not for Cade Otton. No.
Oh, for Cade Otton, you saw the involvement that Cade Otton had. There's no reason to believe that they won't use Brenton Strange. And even though he's not his guy, Liam Cohen believed in him to the point where they didn't add a serious contender to his volume in there. And it's going to be obviously BTJ. You've got Travis Hunter, so there isn't quite the potential to be the top 2 guy there, but he's fighting with Diami Brown for the 3rd spot. And again, I think with positional rarity here, positional scarcity, I think Brenton Strange is a decent bet to finish the year as a top 12 tight end.
Duval.
Totally fair. Yeah, look, the top 2 pass catcher on or top 2 target on your own team thing is pretty much reserved for finding a guy who's just top 5 at the tight end position in terms of finishing that way. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say, Brenton Strange might not have that sort of ceiling provided that Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas are both healthy all year. But that's not to say he couldn't finish tight end 6 or tight end 7 with this full-time role in a good offense. So I like that. He was also on my board, so totally understand that pick. I actually do have a couple of other tight ends on my board, and strictly for transition purposes, Pat, I think I will take one of them. I will take Tucker Kraft out of the Green Bay Packers facility here. Now, I think even with the selection of Matthew Golden, I think last year might have shown the Packers that they should be operating maybe a little less through their gaggle of shit receivers and maybe a little bit more through their tight end, who is a matchup nightmare and can do a lot of things for them. Actually operated the tush push, which they are trying to ban, which is fuck you, Packers. That's dumb. I want to see Tucker Kraft do more tush pushes. But Tucker Kraft might be the most gifted offensive pass catcher that they have, other than, maybe Matthew Golden has that kind of ceiling. But for right now, he's the most proven one. I think Tucker Kraft is going to ascend to be one of the more reliable fantasy tight ends this year on a week-to-week basis, just with a fairly high floor would be my guess. And he, as much as anybody, Pat, does actually have a path to be a top 2 target on his own team. I mean, shit, he has a path to be the number 1 target on his own team. I would not be completely shocked by that outcome. So give me Tucker Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah, I think I kind of looked at it from the perspective of he had already broken out in the sense that he was kind of a weekly starter, but from the point of ascending to be towards the absolute top of the position, right. Yeah, that's a good pick. All right, running backs are difficult here because you almost have to project injury, in which we don't do that here. We don't project injury, but you can take it into account in terms of what. And in this situation, this guy's in a shared backfield conceivably. But kind of what better time is it for maybe the guy who's the better talent to take over than when there is something of a coaching change? This team has a new offensive coordinator in here. I'm going with Zach Charbonnet.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, Kenneth Walker had some good numbers last year. The efficiency was not there. The volume was there. He had some touchdowns, but again, that just was not a very good rushing attack last year. With Kubiak, you'd think, look what he did with fucking Alvin Kamara age 70 Alvin Kamara last year, what he did there.
Dusty.
And not to say that Kenneth Walker is not good. I think that Kenneth Walker will obviously still have a role, but it's if Charbonnet is going to ascend to be the number 1 guy there, it seems that when there's a new voice in the locker room, can sort of make that happen. And quite frankly, I just think Charbonnet is the more efficient, more talented running back. We saw he had a couple huge games at the end of the year with Kenneth Walker out. And once again, Walker does have some injury problems as well. Again, we're not predicting but the possibility of this happening, I don't think is non-zero. And if he comes in and is productive like we've seen him be in hopefully a better rushing attack, I think we could look at it at the end of the year that he's got more fantasy points, even per game, than Kenneth Walker.
Okay. Not one that I'm projecting myself, but definitely one I could still see happening. Any sort of ambiguous backfields, again, you're right, with a coaching change, you just never know. What is it? It's Clint Kubiak there now, I think?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Clint went over to Seattle. So, yeah, great for the running game in general. Okay. With my next pick, I will take... This is going to be surprising for the regular viewers of the pod, Pat. And it's not an indictment on the guy that I love so dearly, which is... But I'm going to take Tank Bigsby. this is an indictment on Travis Etienne, who I fucking hate and think stinks and is hurt all the time. Travis Etienne's been in trade rumors for the last 2 years. I just don't see him being a major part of this offense, at least not after a couple weeks in, if he's even one from the start. Tank Bigsby last year, Pat, 4.6, I believe it was, yards per carry. I think he is a clear beneficiary of Liam Cohen coming to Jacksonville and just being able to put together a more functional offense all around. And as much as I love my boy, Bashal Tutin, and no, this is not the camp report that he fumbled the ball one time that is turning me off of him. I'm not turned off of Bashal Tutin. In fact, I'm very turned on.
I'm very turned on by Tutin.
I love the guy. But I think the more obvious and safe bet for at least an initial breakout in the early part of the season, if not one that he could sustain all season, is Tank Bigsby, who is just simply, I think, the better back at this point out of him and Travis Etienne, and is probably the better back, obviously, out of him and Tutin as well, who is yet to play an NFL snap. There's still opportunity for Tutin to, climb this depth chart because Bigsby is unproven as well. But when you're looking for a guy who can take that kind of step forward and is more, you can more safely project what his workload is going to be off the bat than a guy like Tutin, I think Tank Bigsby's that guy. I could very well see him being an RB2 level, a high-end RB2 level guy this season in a more functional offense. So give me Tank.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one as well. I think this player here... I'm going to base this mainly off of situation rather than necessarily that I think this player is a big stud. Another running back here. We've talked about how this backfield, the situation we kind of don't like right now. We were very surprised they did not add anybody in the draft. I'm once again talking about the Chicago Bears. And I guess if we don't believe in DeAndre Swift, then I probably should believe in Roschon Johnson at least a little bit. He was really obviously coming out of Texas along with Bijan Robinson, it was difficult for him to truly shine as a prospect, but he's been one of those guys the last 2 years who has been such a good prospective hold. Because it's just like if Swift really starts sucking, Johnson could come in. Oh boy, that didn't pause, brother. Hey yo,
if you keep sucking, I'm gonna.
But we even saw Johnson have a nice little goal line usage last year. But again, different system here. And again, Ben Johnson and DeAndre Swift, granted they have a short history with each other, but the Lions clearly did not believe in him. It was short for a reason. So if you're thinking that they didn't add anybody, it means he's got to like someone there. And what if it's not DeAndre Swift? And what if it's Roschon Johnson?
I like that. That is one I could definitely get behind. Not one that I really thought too much about because it is just so gross. I think my eyes just skipped past it. But yeah, we are not DeAndre Swift guys. And so yeah, I guess
I'm a Phil Swift guy.
I'm a not
Hang
a
on a
Taylor
second.
Swift guy, so no, never mind. I don't like where this is going. Pat has blacked out his camera after saying he's a Phil Swift guy. I don't know if he's doing something related to that or if he's just going to shit himself. But yes, Roschon Johnson, a good bet to make if you are anti DeAndre Swift, which I think both of us are. All right,
Phil Swift here with Flex Seal.
Oh my fucking God, he wants to go get a bottle of Flex Seal.
That is on my nightstand for some reason.
Awesome. I would hate to know what you are Flex Sealing at the dark hours of the night.
Chat
Did you just mute yourself?
I accidentally muted myself. I was going to say $20, but Bucko might do that. So if we get a $50 donation, I'll spray Flex Seal on my ball sack, okay? There we go.
God, Jesus Christ. All right. Awesome. With my last pick in the Breakout Players Draft, Pat, it's a guy I think I mentioned briefly on the show once just as a speculative thing, but he's a guy I would love to throw a dart at the end of drafts. It's Josh Palmer of the Buffalo Bills.
I thought you were going to take the guy I was going to take.
No, I'm going to take Josh Palmer of the Bills. Again, it feels like it's a move that I think understandably went under the radar, right? The Bills signed another mediocre receiver to fit into their mediocre receiver room. Lol, he's not going to do anything. And I get that is the initial reaction, and that might be what the reality ends up being. However, you also have to look at it from the other side of the coin, which is the Bills did not have a receiver really step into the driver's seat last year. They did not have a receiver be that guy for Josh Allen. And so if you still believe there is a possibility somebody can do that, I think the new guy coming into the receiver room is as good a bet as any, because everyone that's already there has already proven that they're not going to do that. The other bet would be Keon Coleman taking a step forward, but I think Josh Palmer is also a reasonable dart with this kind of situation. And also, Pat, I don't know if you've seen the advanced analytics on the Fantasy Points data suite, but his average separation score is immaculate. His ass is wonderful to look at. He is one of the best separators in the sport, and if he can bring that to the Buffalo receiver room, I think you may have a startable fantasy wide receiver on your hands.
I don't know why that got me so bad, just because I've never heard.
They love ass.
I've never hered about the ass stat, thankfully, but now I have. I've been enlightened. We've discovered ass and big load backs here on the brand coverage podcast. Okay, all right. I'll wrap this up here. This is a guy I thought you were going to take because you actually talked a lot about him last year, and I'm willing to throw a dart at him again this year because we did see him a little bit, and the numbers weren't there, but the participation was good. This wide receiver room is still slightly crowded. Like, at best, he might be the number 3 guy there. How about your boy Jordan Whittington?
Ooh, okay.
I'm going really, really deep.
That's
there.
my
Like,
dog right there.
If this does not happen, do not color me surprised.
Jordan Whittington may score a fantasy point next year, and we wouldn't be surprised. But
just the fact that, first of all, Demarcus Robinson, get out. Like, that guy was infuriating in Los Angeles last year. Granted, hopefully Puka and Devontae Adams both stay healthy. And, I love both of them. But, on the off chance they don't, and just the chance that they seem to like Whittington, they liked having him on the field. Targets necessarily weren't with the route participation, but if he can surpass Tutu Atwell, as the number 3 wide receiver there, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility in this Sean McVay offense that we'll see a decent uptick in. Someone, Bailey, just said it's a PG podcast. It is absolutely the fuck not. It has never once been. I literally said I wanted Chigakonkwo. I said I wanted to touch up Chigakonkwo my first show on this. It has never once been a PG podcast. But I'll take a really, really big dart. The only wide receiver I'm taking here, and it's crazy, that it's fucking Jordan Whittington.
I like that. I like that you wrapped this up with my boy Jordan Whittington. That also made me look up the Rams depth chart, and just as a sidebar, hilarious. Some hilarious names in here, Pat, because first of all, this is where Quintez Cephas ended up. This is also where Britton Covey ended up. And maybe more importantly, apparently listed on the second team, I don't know who Konata Mumpfield is. Was he drafted this year or something? Who is Konata Mumpfield? Okay, so he was their 7th round pick this year out of Pitt. Sorry, Konata and any Konata Mumpfield stands, but that name just made me chuckle because I've never heard of that
he
name.
cannot really be in the second team there compared to a guy like Jordan Whittington.
And Britton Covey, I mean, shit. No, Whittington's on the second
team. Who's the fucking fullback that his name was Britton that we liked? On the Texans.
British Brooks. Yes,
give me British Brooks.
British Brooks breakout.
I will never forget when he scored a fucking touchdown the week after we mentioned him on this podcast.
I know.
Just for no fucking reason.
British Brooks sighting. All right, folks, that will wrap up our fantasy football breakout players draft. I've got Ricky Pearsall, Drake May, Tucker Kraft, Tank Bigsby, and Josh Palmer. Pat has Caleb Williams, Brenton Strange, Zach Charbonnet, Roshan Johnson, and Jordan Whittington. Now, make no mistake.
And Damar Hamlin.
No. Make no mistake, these are not our guys for this year. I'm excited for that segment when we do it in 3 months. But that will be those will be the guys that we are more firmly planting a flag in. These are just guys speculatively that we think are pretty good mid to late round picks with the potential to blow up into really league winning status. I think is kind of what we're going for with these guys, right? We're trying to get somebody in the middle that really sets you apart and can maybe help carry your team. But that will do it, folks. Again, next week we will start with our division previews. Let us know which division you want us to start with. I'm open-minded. I'm a free thinker. I'm a free spirit. We're going to get through all of them eventually anyway. So let us know what division you want to hear us break down first. It just means we're going team by team, talking about their fantasy assets and what we expect from them this upcoming season. But for this week, For Pat Gustafson, I'm Brandon Carney, and we will see you next time.
Flexi on my ballsack. Bye-bye.
And we've got plenty of donation questions to go through. Again, as a reminder, if you guys don't see it on the bottom of the screen, we always answer all the super chats at the end of the show. The reason we do not answer them throughout the show is because I am also uploading this as an audio podcast, and it will kind of just derail the structure, the flow of the show if we are answering a bunch of questions throughout.
There's so much listening appeal to this to begin with. So
I mean, there's so much. We got some topics to get through. But now, of course, we will answer all of them because you guys are donating your hard-earned money, and we appreciate it. Bailey with $4.99 said, Who's the most random pass catcher since 2010 you can think of to put up 1K? Mine are Tyrell Williams with the Chargers and Michael Gallup. Off the top of my head, I don't know that I would know who got 1K for sure.
Yeah.
So that's the problem here.
But Tyrell Williams was low-key a dog there for the Chargers that year. And then he went to the Raiders and the Lions, and everyone was like, yeah, Tyrell Williams. And it was just like, no, that was a one-time thing.
You want to talk Chargers? How about Denario Alexander? He did not. He very much did not.
Did Seyi Ajira-Tutu?
I do not think Seyi Ajira-Tutu was ever a 1,000-yard receiver. Denario topped out at 658, and then his career just
feels like too much
almost immediately. It does feel like too much. Bucko with 10, what's up, man? Welcome back. He said, if you lot don't win the gold in flag football with NFL players, the U.S. might as well just delete itself from existence. Can't wait what other sports get added that 90% of the world don't play. Listen, man, we're gonna win it, all right?
How about you suck on our star-spangled ding-dongs?
Freebird plays loudly.
There is nothing to get an American more patriotic than beating up on European countries.
It's kind of true. Bailey with another $4.99 said, Purdy saved Shanahan's ass after that horrible Trey Lance trade. They better have paid him. Yeah, that is totally fair. That this entire regime might be gone if they didn't end up hitting on Brock Purdy in the 7th round.
Well, because what they say is that was a John Lynch move, was that Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones at 3, and who would have thought that would have been the significantly better pick, and it's fucking Mac Jones that we're talking about here. So yeah, at the end of the day, it probably would have trickled down to Shanahan, but yeah, John Lynch's ass would have just been gone.
Yeah. He actually has a follow-up that I'll do before this other message. Bailey with another $4.99 said, also, they better thank my Jags for Brock Purdy. Us signing C.J. Beathard is how they got Purdy because of comp picks. Where's our flowers? Is that true? C.J. Beathard
why is that not pronounced beat hard?
It's not beat hard. It is.
I know
Beathard
who C.J. Beathard is. I know.
Bethard.
He started games for the Jaguars.
I think we know why it's not pronounced beat hard, Pat. It's the same reason that our former UConn player, a cook, wasn't just pronounced a cock, and why Kofi Cockburn said it's Coburn.
Or that Rusty Kuntz, the Royals' first base coach, Rusty Kuntz, when it was clearly just can we say that?
I think so. All of these suspiciously vulgar names are for some reason never pronounced with the vulgarity. Yeah, real convenient.
Just gonna name my son like cocksucker or something and see what happens.
Yeah,
co-sucker.
T Sharp with $5 said, hey fellas, in your opinion, who is the worst team owner in professional sports and why is it Bob Nutting? Who's Bob and why is he
Pirates? Nutting?
He's the Pirates owner? Oh, okay. That makes sense. Worst team owner in professional sports?
Well, Dan Snyder he's gone. Has relinquished that.
Tepper's pretty bad. Tepper's pretty bad.
Tepper's bad too.
Tepper's off the hot seat right now because the Panthers have gotten kind of decent. I think it's probably Jerry Jones just for the meddling and for the what have you really done positive for your franchise in the last decade part of it. More than that, I guess.
This century.
They haven't won shit in 30 years. That's well documented. But what have they done that they could have not just as easily done without you? Like the Cowboys remain relevant year to year in terms of being a decent team because of their market. Like it's not much to do with Jerry fucking Jones. So yeah, he's pretty awful.
But to T's point, yes, Bob Nutting is a joke. The fact that they quite possibly have the best pitcher in the MLB in his second year in the league, first full year in the league, and all people could talk about is where he's going to get traded to.
Right.
That is just the perfect reflection on your dumpster fire franchise that is happening.
Absolutely. King with $4.99 said, read your Discord DMs. Oh, Jesus, I forgot I have a Discord. Okay, will do. Bucko with another 10 said, what's changed in the NBA where now there's going to be 7 different winners in 7 years? Also, the latest WNBA controversy is really stupid, and Aaron Gordon is a psycho for playing through his injury. Got a little 3-for-1 message here. What's changed in the NBA? I don't know, Pat. What do you think's changed in the NBA that we don't have as many dynasties as we once had?
I mean, I guess some of these things have kind of ended due to injury. But you look at, for example, like Kawhi winning a championship and then dipping. I think part of it is just there's still some good continuity amongst the best teams, but you're not seeing these cores stay together for quite as long as usual. And then that's the thing is, I don't think it's necessarily a general thing. I think you look at each of these last 7 teams and you could say, like, why hasn't this team won more? And I think you could give an individual answer to it that may be different than the other.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons, but I'm happy that it's this way. I think it's fun having this kind of parity and this kind of diversity within the league.
The Celtics are out?
Yeah, it's some unfortunate news. The Boston Celtics have been eliminated from the NBA playoffs. On a serious note,
do you know how bad
Jason
it is to
Tatum
make
gets
me
better,
root for the
but-
fucking Knicks? Do you know how bad that has to be? At least Knicks fans hate themselves enough that I don't have to do much work. But the Celtics,
Yeah.
I hate the Celtics so much.
I'm also not a fan. Latest WNBA controversy is stupid. Yeah, I mean, Caitlin Clark's
I don't even
good.
want to.
Caitlin Clark's good. Angel Reese isn't, and then it spirals from there, and it's just bad and dumb.
People who
There's a
take
lot
it
of-
further than that are just.
There's a lot of bad faith.
It is a very
Discourse.
toxic wormhole to get into. Yeah, that's as far as I'll go. Caitlin Clark is gonna be the best fucking player in WNBA history soon. Like not even by the time her career's over. Like she's already her triple double. She's already like tied for 5th or something. Like
she's third. Yeah, she's
Third?
already
Good
Yeah,
lord.
it's fucking ridiculous. And then Aaron Gordon's a psycho for playing through his injury. Absolutely agree. I love Aaron Gordon.
hamstrings are hell. You guys
that's
ever pull
Mr.
a
Nugget
fucking
right there.
hamstring? To play basketball of all the sports, at least like football and baseball, you're not running. Basketball, you're moving all the fucking time. Like, what a lunatic.
Yeah. Lucian with $5 said, "Oh boy, if I have to hear about my Packers and the Tush Push band one more time, just let the play be." Hey, based, Lucian. I love it. Packers fan.
we love
A
you,
Packers fan saying, "Just let it be." I love it. 100% agree. Bailey with 199 said, "Get ready for Tyler Huntley in the Olympics."
That's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley.
Oh, Tyler Huntley's exactly the kind of player that.
Well, that's what I mean.
would
That's
be
what it
full-time
might
league.
look like. That's what remember like some of those guys that would pitch in the bullpen for like Team USA and the WBC when it would just be like JJ Putz and like Brad Brack. I mean those guys are solid actually, but
I just think of like these random sort of international basketball tournaments that happen. Sometimes there was like the Puerto Rico games I remember one year, and I tuned into it randomly, and it was like Team USA versus somebody, and Team USA was literally just the Kansas Jayhawks. And then like I think it was the Kansas Jayhawks, and you know who else it was, Pat? It was a guy from, I think, Houston or SMU.
How long ago was this?
Nick Moore. This was like 2017 or 2018.
yes, SMU I believe.
Nick Moore. It was all Kansas and then Nick Moore. And I was like, this is just
Keldon
Team USA.
Johnson on
Like,
Team USA at some point. Like
yes, I think so.
Like,
That was
that's
the
what I
actual
mean.
Team USA. Yeah.
Like the stars just perfectly aligned where just everybody, all these elite Americans in the US just were like, we're winning this shit.
Yeah.
Because you look at all these, you'd argue the 3 best players in the NBA, Jokic, Giannis, and Luka, are not from here. So I think they were
And
all
then
just like,
Shea's
let's get our
Canadian.
star-spangled ding-dongs together and let's do this.
Shea's Canadian.
Yeah, that
Embiid,
too.
if he ever plays. I mean, wanted to play for Team USA, but he's Cameroonian, technically. So, yeah. All right. Omega with $9.99 said, "I agree with Pat. The Ravens have had good running backs like Dobbins, but signing Henry was such a game-changing move. Also, the Cowboys could have had him for $2 million more. Thank God the Ravens extended him." Yeah, I don't want Derrick Henry on the Cowboys ever. Derrick Henry's too good for the Cowboys.
They don't deserve him. Sorry.
No, absolutely do not deserve him. Bailey with one more $4.99 said, "Last chat, if my terrible Jaguars can stop the tush push, so can you." Exactly. Teams have stopped it. I don't understand the issue. Alex with $4.99 said, "I think the tush push injury concerns come from the fact that Philly's quarterback's name is Hurts. Have a great day."
I also saw that our boy Alex, he put in the chat that he was at the DeMar Hamlin game and he didn't realize the
that's right here.
severity Oh, so yeah, there we go. Well, he commented afterwards that the joke that he made was when the ambulance was on the field, he yelled, "Is that the ice cream truck?"
Oh no.
I'm really glad you did that. I gotta be honest.
I guess when you're at the game, you don't quite know because you're not
man
seeing,
is quite literally fighting for his life.
I'm sure they're not showing a bunch of replays in the stadium of
guy.
how serious the situation is. Whereas at home, they're like, "Oh, that guy might be dead."
And all you're thinking of is a fucking chocolate eclair. That's great.
Brother, yeah. The message here, another $4.99 from Alex, said, "I was actually at the Hamlin game. Pro tip: double check the condition of the player before you shout jokes about the situation." Yeah. Wait a minute. Lucian with $5 said, "Your favorite rookie whose first name rhymes with seashell?" That is a stretch for Bayshul, but Bayshul Tootin', baby. Future RB1 as long as he stops fumbling in camp. Let's see.
Just crushed my banjo.
Lucian with another 2 says, "With the number 1 pick in the breakout draft, Kyle Pitts." No.
We're going to be taking him in 10 years in the breakout draft, my brother.
Bucko with 2 said, "Even I'm not spending 50 quid," and that's for Pat to put.
Sorry, Flex Seal. This is actually really old. Does this stuff expire? Keep out of reach of children. Well, too bad.
We got it in.
Oh wait, danger.
Much
Okay.
less responsible.
Let's see. Like warning: this product can expose you to chemicals, including carbon black, which are known to cause cancer. Okay, I'm not that concerned about that. It doesn't say anything about not spraying on your skin here. So
put it on your balls. Omega with $1.99 said, "You want real pain? Be an Orioles fan." Yeah. How about them Orioles, man?
Dude,
seemed like an ascending team, and now they're just ass and fired their manager. Nice.
Because they decide to bank on their pitchers that they have in-house who just turns out aren't very good. And you sign Charlie Morton to a $15 million deal, and the best guy you got is like a 37-year-old from Japan who tops out at 90 miles an hour, has been the only effective starter on your team. What do you want Brandon Hyde to do with that? They're in a great selling position. We'll see if they are delusional enough to think like, oh, we can't do that. It's like trade your rentals, trade Ryan O'Hearn, trade Cedric Mullins. Do what you can. You're not going to be good this year, but you're still damn close to contending. So keep that window open while still planning for the future.
Yeah. Alex with $1.99 said John Fisher is the worst owner in
It's a good one as well.
Probably a fair shout.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Right. Yeah, the fact that we didn't mention him is kind of a bad look on us.
All right, regular chat here. Madison, I see. Hey, just wanted to pop in and say you're one of my favorite sports content creators. Thanks for being chill. Hey, happy to
thanks,
provide.
Madison. Oh,
happy to provide. One of your favorite sports content creators. So I'm not sure which one of us she's referring to, Pat.
I have created a lot of great sports content, including just my inane tweet ramblings.
You have. Thank you.
And I write NASCAR gambling props under a pseudonym. If you ever. In case that's my sports content, you're welcome.
What was Ben Franklin's pseudonym? Is that what you're writing under? It's the Silence Do Good. Is that your NASCAR?
I didn't pick the pseudonym, but
it's your NASCAR pseudonym. Just
Gatrick Pustafson, actually.
Just pit stopped finish lineberg. All right. Kyle said, "How high are you on R.J. Harvey for fantasy? Very similar to Bucky Irving. Liam Cohen wanted him before the Broncos drafted him early. I'm high on R.J. Harvey. I suspect a lot of people are going to be high on R.J. Harvey as well, which is why it'll come down to value. I think a lot of people are seeing his landing spot and falling in love with him, which is fair, but there's a balance that has to be struck there. But yeah, I mean, everything's lining up for him to be really good. He's also posting pictures with Sean Payton's daughter, so like, something's got to be going right there in old Denver.
Taysom, a single tear runs down Taysom Hill's cheek.
White tear runs down his leg. Knight the Mite was $5. Said, "Missed the most of the stream, but the tush push isn't unbeatable. Example A, the Bills versus Chiefs." Yeah, the Bills were terrible at it, by the way.
Everyone's terrible at it except the Eagles.
Field said, "Bran, you're the GOAT of sports entertainment, and Pat is clearly the second GOAT." Thank you, guys.
I don't think he said that second part.
He did. It was a private
he
DM.
did? Okay, thanks, Field.
Could Prime Shaq play in the NFL as a running back? Too big. I don't know.
And 7 feet.
There's got to be a reason that there's not guys that size playing football, right?
I've been watching a lot of what do they call that show? NBA, whatever, clips. And my God, they are fucking hysterical.
Yeah. Bucko with 5 more said, "Worst owner Steve Dale at Barry FC literally killed the football club." Well, I'll take your word for it because I don't know any.
Did
of
he
those
literally
words.
kill them? Like,
Did
did he
he
go and
light
kill
them
the
on
players, or did he
fire?
just like kill the team? Like the team is done.
Right.
Kibosh.
Remorse
I'm gonna guess
betrayal.
it's the latter.
Remorse Betrayal said, look, Shaq's a brick shit house. I know, but there's got to be a reason we don't have 7-footers playing running back, right? And that reason that their knees would literally be shattered after 10 carries? Probably. Because that's the problem with
yeah.
that's the problem with big men playing basketball, which both is and isn't a contact sport. You're not really getting hit in the knees to the degree that football players are.
Yeah.
So if you put that guy in a football field, dead. Just dead.
Literally, look at Yao Ming was dead on a basketball court. Like, look what that guy's career could have been.
Right. And then Fantasy Footballer said, are the Bears going to do anything in the regular season, or are they just going to waste another offseason? Pat and I both like the Bears, and maybe it's foolish, but I think they're finally doing the right things. I think they're.
I like the Bears. It's tough, though, that they play in otherwise the best division in football. And it may be difficult for them to, say, make the playoffs, but I think we're going to see a considerable improvement based on record and just quality of play.
If they don't win the Super Bowl, it will be a colossal disappointment. And then C9 said, what's your over-under win total for the Pats? I think they'll be a lot better. The Patriots will go 10-7 and make playoffs and win a game.
Win a game.
Win a wild card game. We are on our
Raiders Patriots wild card game is going to be crazy, man.
We are on our Commanders era. That's what we're doing right now. And then last, we got a donation from Omega. Said $1.99. Worst owner Shad Khan. He hired Balky and Meyer. At least he
But
finally
he likes
fired,
London.
At least he finally fired Balky. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. All right, folks. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We will be back again next week. Again, starting our divisional previews, and we will see you guys then. Adios.
Bye-bye.